Hey, I thought it was about time for another vlog, and this topic is going to be a movie review slash character profile review of the show 24. 24 is an interesting concept. Of course, it takes place, each episode is an hour of every day. And the basic concept of the story is about a federal agent named Jack Bauer who works for C2U, which is the counter-terrorist unit in Los Angeles, California. And what he does is takes down terrorism. He tracks down terrorist threats and then tracks down the terrorist behind the threat within a 24-hour period. And it's a brilliant idea, and it is very almost stressful in many ways watching it because you can never just watch one episode. But the idea behind the storylines, which I liked, is that they take whatever was considered a threat or a problem in America at the time. You gotta remember, this show's over 10 years old. Whatever was going on in America at the time, and they would transfer it into the show. So, season 1 had to do with Russian assassins, attempt on a presidential candidate's life. Season 2 was about Islamic bomb terrorism, Muslims, radical Muslims, planting a bomb on American soil. And now season 3 is about bioterrorism, about a disease that is that could kill millions. And so I thought that was kind of a brilliant idea, of taking all of those terrifying terrorist issues and putting them into the show, and then right in the middle of it you put in the all-American hero of Jack Bauer, and kind of gives the world kind of something or someone to believe in. So, I'll get on with the character profiles.
I don't want to hurt you, but I will do everything that I have to do to protect my family.
Jack Bauer is an interesting person because even though he's a hero, he is more or less, at times tends to be an anti-hero as well. He will try to stay with the moral boundary lines, but when it becomes too much, he is willing to do the wrong thing for what he considers to be the right reasons. In the story, when it begins, Jack is a man who's trying to put his family back together while trying to continue on with his work, which he is very good at. He's an incredible agent. He's a very good man. But work and family oftentimes conflict, and that is a major part of a lot of Jack's issues, is trying to balance family and work. At the end of season 1, it suffers terribly, and into season 2, there's still issues going on because of having to balance his work life and his family life, and how the two of them mesh, and and one does get destroyed because of it. And I think what I really like the most about Jack is that he's not a perfect person. He makes mistakes, and I think that's the type of hero that people need to look up to, is someone who's not perfect, and that's a very kind of a in a sense, America wants to have like an idol, someone that they can look up to, and not and perfect, and yet Jack is one of these characters where I think in a lot of ways people can relate to him. And I think that's what, in my mind, makes him such a good hero, makes him such a strong person, is that he is not above suffering, he's not above making mistakes, and he's not above learning from his mistakes. I'm glad you moved back in, Daddy.
Me too, sweet. Have a good sleep.
Kim Bauer took a long time to get used to. She really did. In season 1, she was very spoiled, very arrogant, very self-centered. She was very spoiled by her dad, very much used to getting her way with him and working around him. And she really had a wake-up call in season 1 when she was kidnapped and almost killed on numerous occasions. Then in season 2, it's really about her and her father trying to reconnect after the death of her mother, and things get considerably better for there. But I think the thing about Kim is, even though she's thoroughly unlikable in the first season, she really does grow on you, because you got to keep in mind she was a young girl in season 1, and she starts to grow up over time, and she really starts to become an admirable person, and you get to see aspects of her dad starting to come out through her and what she says and what she does. So it's cool watching the show, and you get to like see her grow up over time.
We have reason to believe that by the end of the day, an attempt will be made on David Palmer's life. If Palmer gets hit, it'll tear this country apart. There may be an element inside the agency involved with the hit on Palmer. Don't trust anybody.
Oh, CTU, you have a love-hate relationship with this place from the very beginning. I think a lot of Jack's issues could have been resolved much quicker if CTU just stopped worrying about what was best for them and maybe started worrying more about what was best for the country. The thing about CTU and the people that work there is that their incompetence comes out because they are so afraid of losing their job. More than once in season 1, Jack would ask for something and people would say, well, I can't authorize that, or I don't have authority to do that, or I can't do this, or I can't do that, which is what sends Jack out to go against the grain and go against the moral boundary line of what they consider to be, inappropriate, or, what they consider to be wrong. But what the people at CTU would rather let the president be killed, or let the country burn, or let millions of people die if it means having to keep their jobs intact. And then halfway through kind of the show, you begin to see a shift, you begin to see a change, and people realizing we can be better than this, we can do better than this. And then there are several characters in there where you get to see that story arc, and through those characters you get to see the change in CTU.
And that might have made sense back on the ground. But let's face it, Jack, the hard part's over. Took off, cleared the city. What's left? Flying straight and level and taking it into a dive.
George Mason is one of those... I don't want to say he's the boss from hell, but he's like one of those people where you publicly hate him and you secretly admire him. I couldn't stand him in season 1, and yet there's something so likable about him. But that doesn't deter from the fact that he is a good man who is trying to do his job. And he really kind of grew on me after a while. I really began to, really kind of enjoy kind of seeing his struggle as a man who thought he was getting a great job, and it ended up being, he absolutely hated it, and so he took it out on everyone else. But he definitely got his hero calling in season 2.
Terry, step away. Move away, Terry. Terry, step away, please.
Tony Almeida is a very hardworking agent who desperately wants to be the boss and kind of lives in Jack's shadow. And it's kind of, annoying for him because you have Jack that breaks all the rules and people forgive him for it. Tony keeps all the rules, and he just basically gets ignored. And because Tony is so by the book, in like season 1 and most of season 2, he tended to be pushed around by a lot of people, and he never stood up for himself, and it got really annoying after a while. And back to what I said about CTU and its consistent incompetence, about people worrying more about their job and what was best for them. It finally came to a point where Tony confronted Jack about a certain issue, and he finally realize that, if nobody else is going to do this, I'm going to do it. And over a certain amount of time, he finally becomes the boss. And when people are kind of trying to push him into every single direction, he's like, screw all this noise. He finally gets a spine, becomes his own man, and becomes the leader that he really didn't think that he had the capability of becoming, but really in the show he becomes an incredible leader, and really somebody that CTU has needed. Somebody who is willing to follow the rules, but is also willing to make acceptances if it gets the job done. So Tony Almeida has, by season 3, has definitely become one of my favorite characters. So in 24, it is definitely a ride. It's definitely an adrenaline rush, but that doesn't deter from the fact that it is definitely fun. I find it hilarious that the All-American boy is played by a Canadian, but I won't hold that against them too much. So if you're ever curious about wanting to see 24, I suggest that you watch it. You won't be disappointed. So there's my review, and I hope you liked it, and I will try to have another video blog up sometime soon.